user fee, which people have referred to as a tax. Why did Renew Houston choose to include the drainage user fee as part of the plan? And why do you think this is the most equitable way to provide additional drainage funds?
I think it's the most equitable because, as anyone says, the people who use the systems should be the ones that pay for it. The systems are declining. The people that put the most water in it have the most to gain from us keeping the systems working properly. And it's one of those things. Churches pay for a lot of things. They pay for the water they use. They pay for the food they buy to serve. I mean, you know, it's a little bit disingenuous to say that they're protected from any cost to the community, because I just don't think that's a reasonable expectation. We believe that going the user fee route is good because what it ultimately does, and I want to go back to the same point, this is a fiscally responsible way for us to set up a dedicated fund that future mayors and councils cannot take those dollars and divert to other purposes and to get us off of debt. What Paul's really proposing is, if we don't do this, what he wants is for us to sell more bonds, more debt, at a year when all you hear in the national election is, too much debt, too much debt. Well, Paul's deal is let's sell more debt, and the only way we can do more debt is to raise taxes.
User fees are different by their nature. They're very non-progressive. And they have an interesting effect on the users that have to pay them. But the bottom line is this. Everybody that we're talking about is already paying 40% higher on the residents in water rates and 24% higher if you're a multifamily owner, or 8% higher if you're a commercial owner. You've got a tremendous amount of money flowing into the city's water fund. All these monies that we're talking about are city monies. They can be used really backwards and forwards in different pots, and everybody in this audience is sophisticated to understand that. Mike Sullivan and others at the City Council have tried to stop the overspending at City Hall, and they recently had a $30 million cut proposed that was denied because, again, city government's theory is we're not even going to get the metro money that we could use for this type of project. We're just going to try to go out and tax and tax and tax.
Paul, how much will this effort really cost? Estimates of from $2 billion to over $10 billion to be spent over the next 10 to 20 years on street and drainage improvements are given to justify the need for increased funding. How big is this problem? And since the fee proposed in this Renew plan is not a fixed amount, but can be raised by a supermajority vote of City Council, how can the citizenry be protected from slippage into excessive increases in future fees?
See, again, the problem with Prop 1 is this. It's a minimum tax or fee. I can't tell you how much this is going to be over time. I can tell you that the only way to turn this fee off is a 2/3 supermajority vote, or we're going to have 2 successive 20 years of this fee. See, I've never seen a proposal that is a minimum fee and then it takes a 2/3 vote of City Council to turn it off. A citizen referendum would even be in order to lower the rates, which we don't even know what those rates are going to be at this point in time. So I've seen estimates of $10 billion over this period of time. I've seen estimates of $8 billion. We're talking about a fund that has to be $300, $400, $500 million in size to do this. And I haven't seen a list of projects. I don't know what the priorities are. There isn't anyone in this audience that can tell you what the first set of priorities in this project are going to be, because we haven't even set the rates yet. We haven't even, much less then, determined how much money we have. All we know is that we're going to have to pay a minimum $125 million more, period.
Well, for anybody who doesn't know the rates, you're just not paying attention. The mayor has proposed these rates. They're posted on the web. You can go look at them today. For the average homeowner, it's $5 a month. So to say that nobody knows that, it's simply not the case. In terms of where did the money come from, believe it or not, the city does know how much it's going to cost to upgrade the streets and drainage. That's the number. It's been proposed. It's going to be done over the next 20 to 30 years. The deal of there's no plan, there's absolutely a plan. We start with the current 5-year CIP. And from there, we got and there also is a comprehensive drainage program out there. So to say there's no idea of what the city's going to spend money on, simply not true. He's showing me the stop sign, but the real issue on the water rates was the city was in violation of the bond covenants. And he said about the sophistication of this audience, you all know what happens if you're in violation of that. And so what the city chose to do was to move from what we're doing now in violation of bond covenants to the point where we're going to provide water at a cost of service. And what he's not telling you is Mr. Betancourt chose on behalf of
Can I
everybody
respond,
else.
please, Fred?
Now, see the problem I had this morning here. Well, let's just stick with the program at hand. Thank you, Wayne. This question is for Mr. Fox. How much of the proposed minimum $125 million annual increase in revenue will go to design and consultants, to new construction, to existing infrastructure repair and replacement, and what entity will be responsible for designating, prioritizing, and contracting work projects?
Well, the entity that will be responsible is the City of Houston Public Works Department. They're required by state law to select engineers on the basis of qualifications. Those recommendations are given to the mayor, who then goes to City Council. So there's no private entity that's going to be out there selecting engineers. There's no way that we would want to do that. We want it to be open competition. As far as how much goes to who, generally speaking, engineering fees run less than 10%, so figure it all out and you can get that. There's other fees. The good part about this is that the mayor has implemented a Hire Houston First program. So it's going to be Houston engineering companies, Houston construction companies, Houston suppliers, Houston vendors of all kinds are going to benefit from this economically at a time when candidly we need it. So there is a true economic benefit to this. And again, I want to go back and say there is a plan. And if you want to know what it is, call Dan Kruger, who's the Public Works Director, and tell him you want to know the plan, and he can get you a copy of what's available. It's all public record. There's no secrets anywhere. This is the City of Houston.
You would know that from watching the Prop 1 commercial, because the Prop 1 commercial, in my opinion, is disingenuous, because it implies that the money that's raised is somehow going to be kept away from the politicians that have already misspent the money in the past. The problem with this, again, the problem with Prop 1 is that the general public does not have any idea what this is. We have not had public hearings. We have not set tax rates. Just because the mayor proposes something or talks about it doesn't mean that we've had even a vote by City Council on the rate. And this idea that the average home is paying $5 is ridiculous. We'll go into that more because we've seen those calculations. The bottom line is that you've got a totally undefined tax or fee.
Wayne, the city just increased the water rate by as much as 40%, which is estimated to produce an additional $300 million in annual revenue, much of which would be used for drainage improvement. Before that money has even been allocated, is it really necessary to impose yet another new fee to fix our drainage problem, and why?
You said Wayne.
You said Wayne, but you
I'm sorry, I did it again. All right.
No, that's right.
Yeah, I think that was a Paul.
That's
a fault.
Okay. The city's water rate fund has been increased over time. Again, 40% of the average residents over 3 years, and lesser amounts on commercial properties. The problem with that is that in that rate increase, they used a study from an outfit named Red Oak, and they raised in 1 year the maintenance and operation cost of the city's budget from $371 million to $415 million in a recession. So we added a whole bunch of people, paid a whole bunch more money for chemicals, $44 million more out of the blue in this rate increase. And I've asked the council member and everyone else at City Hall to explain this. I didn't get nothing but silence back. It's a plug. The money's already in the water fund that could be transferred to drainage right now. They've got $44 million. And my bottom line is, why are we raising taxes like this on businesses in a recession? We can barely make ends meet in this part of the country. But why are we raising hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes, in new taxes, on businesses in a recession?
I want to go back. The primary reason the water rates got increased has to do with the fact that the city was in violation of bond covenants. Folks, we can wish the world was different, but it's not. And we cannot get in violation of our bond covenants. And you talk about, well, they're using money for drainage now. You know what? The reason there's any money being spent for drainage right now is those are dollars that are supposed to be being spent on maintaining our wastewater system. And because we've moved those dollars out of the wastewater system, we're no longer maintaining our wastewater system, which means that we're going back to a time of wastewater overflows into bios and streams. I think that's a really bad idea. So we have a crumbling infrastructure system out there that has impact on people. I don't think we should dump raw sewage into the bios that we've spent a little bit of wastewater money on trying to improve so that they flow better. I guess all that really does is that moves that wastewater faster downstream so we can infect more people. I mean, really, we've got to take care of it.
Wayne?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? He didn't